Capri Sun KraftFoods. Welcome. How are you?
Thanks, dude. I'm good. How about you?
Good, thanks. Is that your full name or is there more? Are you like the second or the third?
Nah, there's about fucking half a dozen characters in that. They're all just my alts.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's
Go ahead.
yeah, no, sorry, it was on. There you go.
I hear you have a ton of alts, right? Like you've like 8 in Hard Knocks, a couple in PL.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
kind of yeah, I'm kind of around a bit. Like right now, what I'm sort of doing is I'm like split straight dual citizen,
mhm.
where I've got about I'm in Hard Knocks and I'm in Adversity, who as of 2 weeks ago joined Pandemic Legion. So
Yep.
I'm in sort of the two main blocks that everyone seems to hate, which is
Yeah.
quite a departure from where I was this time last year.
Where were you this time last year?
This time last year, I just finished up Black Legion because I'd been leading Black Legion when it finally disbanded,
Oh.
and just joined Tissue, but this was before they'd gained a reputation, as we'll
Oh.
say.
Oh, good. I'm going to scrutinize you about it. Now you can distance
Yeah,
yourself
sure.
if you want to. Awesome. Well, let's start from the beginning, though. When did you come to the game, and what's your background? What did you play before this? That kind of stuff.
So before I played Eve, I was really big into like Team Fortress 2. I got into like a lot of the what you'd call like esportsy nowadays, competitive gaming stuff. But before there was like money in it. And I did that for years. In fact, I'm still on my other Reddit account that's got a different name. I'm still like a moderator on the TF2 subreddit, that kind of thing. Used to do like lots of like esports coverage and streaming and stuff like that. So it's kind of ironic actually because I was always like a very out of game sort of organizer type person in that, and then I come to Eve Online and I'm like one of the hardcore like people who log in type, which is like
You actually started playing the game.
complete, yeah, like the complete like 180 on that, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So you know a bit about esports and that sort of thing?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I was sort of watched it grow up from like around like sort of late 2009, 2010, got into it. Yeah.
But you sound pretty young, so when did you start all this?
Um, well, I'm 23. I started following like competitive gaming when I was about probably 15.
Oh, okay.
I got because it started with TF2. I started playing TF2 probably about 6 months after it came out. Which God, it's 9 years ago now.
That's amazing.
I just, yeah, no, I got TF2 for like my 15th birthday, and I just right from then just really got into like the competitive side of it, and just played that till about 2012, and then I was kind of bored with it, and I just randomly, it was a friend that actually played TF2. He just came across Eve, and he was just streaming himself playing like the tutorial, like one day, and I just thought this game looks cool and all. So I started playing it and just like made an account. And I think about after following the trial, I was like, oh, I bet there's an Eve subreddit. And then I think like the there's like the top post on R Eve at the time. The first time I visited was like the Mutani announces that the invasion of Fan, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Oh my God, it's the Reddit Alliance that's getting invaded. I bet I can join them. That sounds like fun.
So you signed up for the militia.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, no, I mean I'd sign up for Eve, but yeah, I mean like 3 days in, I just was like,
But I mean, you went right to the
oh
defend
yeah,
the
no.
territory.
I mean like just finished the tutorial missions and then apt to dread it like 12 hours later. So yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
just
you
got
were
right into
that
it.
was if I'm not mistaken, that was the Fountain War you jumped in front of.
Yeah, that was the 2013 Fan War where Tast lost it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that was kind of where I started. Yeah, I joined Tast. Sort of just learned. I'd say learned the game would be an exaggeration. I learned what the buttons did.
That's a good way to put it.
Like I learned what the buttons did. I learned what things were like orbiting were. I remember saying. Remember there's this one particular time where we were shooting a pass or something, and I was just sitting there in my like slasher, and it got blown up by the pass, and I was like, oh no, I wonder what happened now. And then I was like, wait, it shoots your pod as well? Like what? What is this? It was like I've been playing the game for like 5 days, never been podded before. Didn't even know that was a thing.
It's pretty insulting, right, when a non-player takes you out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like I just wasn't even aware of the podding mechanic, but yeah, I mean that's where I pretty much started. Yeah.
So you were in test then. You found yourself in test.
Yes. Yeah. Started in tests. After that, I think it was when tests announced that we were gonna low sack. It kind of felt to me like that's given up a little bit. That's given in. Didn't play for a few weeks, and then some friends who were going to like Insidious Empire, who I'm guessing probably your viewers or listeners won't know this. Insidious Empire were basically a PL Palines is maybe exaggerating a little, but they were
Mm-hmm.
kind of in the PL sphere of influence, PanFam before PanFam.
Mm-hmm.
They lived in Cobalt Edge, and they were like part of N3. Went there with a few friends, hung out in the Halloween War around about then. Basically participated in that whole Halloween War, BTACR, etc. with them. After pretty much probably about 3 weeks after BTACR, that alliance disbanded. And then I ended up in Black Legion, which is where I'd say I'm most known for.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I became known. Basically, just started out as being like the 20 mil SP guy. At this point, I very quickly realized that about a year. This was less than a year into playing the game. I'd very quickly realized that alts were the thing to this game. You know, it was just a natural part of how to play it.
The
So I was
scalability, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just the fact that having like, 1, 2, because I think at that point I must have been up to. Sorry, because in between joining Black Legion and leaving EMP, I'd the corp that I was in, TSK, we went to like live in an NPC fountain for a bit. And while we were doing that, I remember looking at a video of someone doing like IS box bombing, and I just came across it. I just thought this was like the coolest thing ever, right? Just someone watching someone do it. Because I mean, I'd never played an MMO before, so I mean, you read more about it and you find out this has been a thing in WoW for like years and years. But I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. Like, oh, you can just make 7 clients do the same thing. So I started training these accounts. Just up for IS box bombing because I really wanted to do it. I'm like, this is gonna get banned. It's totally OP, but I want to like kind of abuse it before I want to like have some fun with it before it inevitably gets banned. Turns out it took over a year, but yeah, I mean, I made all these accounts. So at the same time as these bomber alts were training up, we joined Black Legion, and then it was like, oh hey, I have 7 accounts that all have like 2 spare character slots that I could just train a Sino alt on. So as soon as I realized that was a thing that Black Legion did, had loads of Sino alts, I just had 14 Sino alts like that I could just move around the game. This is when you could still pod them. So that's kind of where I got known in Black Legion. I was like, if we were doing something, where we wanted to drop on some people on the other side of the galaxy, I would be the guy who'd be like, we need Sinos moved. And I'd be like, okay, I've got 7 Sinos. They're all ready to go.
So your niche was to provide the road for these capitals to fly through.
Yeah, to basically be the enabler for the very kind of annoying pre-Phoebe jumping around the map thing.
Oh, this explains a lot, and we'll get to it later because you made a really interesting documentation on the jump changes that happened recently. It was very referenced piece of work there. But go on, you were saying? So that's Black Legion.
Yeah, that was Black Legion. I mean, that kind of after Phoebe, what happened was Black Legion we sort of tried to reinvent ourselves. We're like, okay, dreads aren't really a thing anymore. Subcaps can be our thing. We tried doing wormholes. We tried invading some Sov, but that didn't work out. We ended up moving down to Iridia. Tried out moving in a Fountain. We actually did pretty well in Fountain. It's funny to think because in my head, and I know most people's head that enjoyed it, Fountain for Black Legion feels like it was like a rapid deployment of kinds. It was like a really short thing. But in reality, it was actually like 5 months. And we had all these great fights then. It was just, time flies fast when you're having fun. Had all these great fights there. Ganked a few of yours. Well, I suppose you're not because you're personal an NC dot, but
yeah, I'm an NC.
Yeah, no, we ganked a lot of. We got this huge gank on like the CFC. I think it's still like the third biggest super cap loss that the CFC have had in like one particular engagement, which we were pretty proud of.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were trying to move. It was like when they were moving from Delve to back home after they'd sort of decided to, basically after they beat NC Dot, and they still had like straggling move ops going through, and we just ambushed the very last one and killed I think it was like 2 Titans and half a dozen supers.
Oh, I think I remember that, and that would have been after like the excursions into Fountain from Delve, or was that?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Yeah. It was
before or after? Were those before Phoebe changes?
Oh, this was almost a year after the Phoebe changes.
After, yeah okay. Because there was 2 campaigns there, and I don't remember. I think one was before.
Yeah, because there was the one.
No, they were both after. Sorry, no, they were both after.
Oh yeah, right enough. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I'm totally confusing you and messing you up. Sorry.
Yeah, because NC Dot tried to invade Fountain like 3 separate times.
Right.
There was like,
And BL was
yeah,
part of one of those.
Yeah, BL was part of the one. Yeah, this was because the whole BL and Fountain thing followed on from that was after it didn't work out and the CFC had sort of beat them, NC Dot just left, and BL were like, oh, okay, well we'll just stay in Fountain, we'll just stay in Aradia for a bit and like fight Los Echene or something.
Right.
And you guys, they obviously announced that they were going to leave. They were going to leave, just abandon the south at that point and pull back after ahead of Aegislav. And they handed Brave off to Fountain off to Brave, and we were just like, ha, great, let's take the region. It was great because we were thinking like, you know what, we should try being a Sav alliance if they're going to move out. And then like literally 3 days later, Brave Newbies is like, we're moving again, and they're announcing like all these maps of like how they're going to divide the Sav up, and we're just like, oh, that's not going to happen, because you have to remember like a whole lot of the people who were active in BL at that point were people who had in previous alliances, test and otherwise, owned Fountain before, who really knew the region. And they're just like, we're going to divide up like this. And it's like, no, you don't get this region.
Yeah, the natives are going to take it. And BL's going to also be a thorn in your side. And that never happened. Brave never really got a foothold in the place.
Well, what happened was I think the second Sov transfer, and this was the thing. This is why it was really Brave was really disappointing to me that time. Is Brave tried to do a Sov transfer of like a pretty meaningless like iHub station. It was like a stationless system, and basically it wasn't even like an alliance thing. It was literally like a dozen people said, haha, they're trying to anchor a TCU on a moon with no pass. So why don't we just put down a pass and just kill the TCU as it's anchoring, like with the pass guns? So they did that, right? That's exactly what they did. They put down their TCU, killed the TCU, and then they just anchored their own one. And it worked. And then we did that in like another system, except this one had a station. And it just I remember giving this point because we had to come to flip the station, and I remember giving this specific command. We got about 30 dreads, gated through a Tengu fleet, and we signed the dreads on the station. And I just said this command on comms was like, okay, everyone siege and shoot the station until either you can dock in it or you're dead. Because goons were still in Delve at this point when we did this. So there was the very real possibility that a bunch of supers were going to come up and wreck all our dreads. But yeah, I mean, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a lot of fun in BL. And then what happened after BL?
Well, after BL, I moved to basically Tissue, or Psychotic Tendencies at that point.
What attracted you to them?
Basically that they were, in terms of content, like what I was really looking for as an alliance. Because I kind of decided at that point, like, nullsec's going to be boring for a little bit. There's not going to be a lot going on sort of the next, maybe 6 months or so. I just want to try out this low sec thing. I've never done it, like the snuff, like you see like these old like snuff box Shadow Cartel battle reports where it's just like billion-esque materials and stuff. I was like, that sounds cool. I want to try that. And Psychotic Tendencies were basically like just a less serious group of that. Plus they were like very USTZ heavy. And also a couple of them that we knew because basically the main corp of Tissue, the Adversity, had basically absorbed a lot of the people from another corp that had been in BL like a year and a half earlier. So we knew a few of the people, and I was attracted to them for that reason. Mm-hmm.
I see. So you knew them. You were familiar with some of them because they were in BL with you, and they looked like the most promising as far as what you wanted to do. And how did that work out?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, in terms of content, I think they were a really good group. We got to fight in Placids with the Snuffbox guys. That was exactly what I was looking for in that game at that point. We managed to take over Cloud Ring off of, I can't even remember who owned it before. I think it was just no one owned it. I think because EXE pulled back and no one owned it. And then we were in World War B with them. And then kind of what happened was after World War B, Tissue just fell apart because it was like, well, we don't
you guys got exhausted of beating up on SMA?
Basically, yeah. Oh god, that SMA campaign was amazing. That was definitely one of the most meaty campaigns.
That was an interesting time because you were one of the first hired by Iwan-esque Bank, basically, to Mercenary Space Monkeys Alliance and SMA, and you guys were basically told to make their lives hard.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
Enthusiasm
man,
cracks me up.
so I mean, I'm presuming your Eve travels, you've heard of the man Bosun Dubstep.
Yeah.
Bosun's one of these people, for those who don't know, who he's kind of known in the Eve community as he's a good guy and he means well, but he's a bit of a flake. He'll kind of come up with this plan. He's like, I'm gonna do this and it's gonna be perfect and it's gonna be this amazing plan, and he wastes people's time, right? Like he always has these plans and it's like, yeah, whatever, nothing will come of it, right?
Yeah.
So but this one, so again, he comes in and he's like, yo guys, I've got this friend, he's banking Ionisk and he wants to give us loads of money to dunk on SMA. And I think Lex said it's like a joke, right? He's like, oh, well, if he gives us like 15 bill a day, then maybe we'll think about it. So Bosun goes to the guy and he's like, their fee's 15 bill a day. And he just goes, okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we're just like, what? We're like, oh, are you serious? And we didn't believe him. We thought he was trolling. So the guy sent like the first 2 weeks as an advance. We're like, what is this? Absolutely. We paid 15 billion a day to go blops on SMA. Absolutely, let's do that. We had this whole thing. We had like this joke. So it was like the scalps. You know, have you seen the film that Inglourious Bastards?
I actually have not seen that, but go ahead with yours.
So there's a scene in Inglourious Bastards where the captain who's in charge is like, you know, I demand 100 Nazi scalps from every one of you owes me debt of 100 Nazi scalps, and they've got to scalp all the guys that they killed. So we had this joke of you have to collect like 100 corpses, and if you collect 100 corpses, you get 10 bill. Like any member in the alliance could go, if you contract 100 SMA corpses to like Lex, then you'll get 10 bill for it. And that was like our
you guys had to loot the corpses out of the wrecks.
Yeah. There's a really good video Demasian has on this. One of the guys that's in Dick. It's like how to make 11.5 bill with the saber, and it's just him saber camping for days and made like, yeah, I think almost 12 bill that campaign just doing that.
That's so funny. So that ended up rolling into there was a merger of different contracts and monies that ended up causing what I called the Mercenary Wars, but everybody else calls World War B or Casino War. And so I imagine you fought in that campaign, and then so what happened after that? How did you find your way to Hard Knocks?
Well, kind of what I found was that I had sort of decided that, remember, Citadels weren't a factor at this point. No, that's not true. Citadels hadn't really shown what was going to come of them. Do you know what I mean?
They were very early in there. They basically got released in the middle of that. Right near the end.
Pretty much. It was kind of the end, really, because that was when Goons were in Cernan, and by all accounts they started planning, okay, well, where do we go from here? You know, presumably when the move to Delve was in the early planning stages. So I just kind of realized at the end of it, I was like, I don't really enjoy Aegis Sov, and I've done nullsec for 2.5 years, and that's what nullsec's going to be for the foreseeable future. So I'm going to go try wormholes, because like I said, I went to Tissue because I wanted to try lowsec. Mm-hmm. I just was like, okay, wormholes, I've not tried that. I want to go give that a shot. App to HK, I don't know anyone in HK. I mean, I've heard of them, but I didn't.
Have they heard of
know anyone there. I just thought it. Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's you get known on Reddit and things. They knew who I was when I apped anyway.
Oh, because you post a lot on Reddit, or because you put down the highways for BL?
Both. I mean, like they knew like who I was in terms of like, oh, you're that guy that's ran BL until the end, and like we're like post on Reddit. Yeah, I mean they knew who I was. What you find is nullsec people, for the most part, are actually fairly engaged. Wormhole people tend to be fairly engaged in nullsec politics far more than vice versa. They know because so much of wormhole content is nullsec roaming in the first place, that you kind of need to know at least the basics of what's going on, because you've got to think like, okay, if I'm going to go tackle this Rorqual, are they just going to drop like 200 supers on us? That kind of thing. You've got to like at least know a little bit. So but yeah, I mean, I apped to them and I just tried out wormholes, because and it's absolutely it was everything I hoped. I'm pretty sure if I hadn't tried out wormholes, I wouldn't be playing the game now. because it was just like a totally new thing for me. And it wouldn't have kept me it wouldn't have kept me playing until we could see how the new capitals and how the new
because
citadels played out.
you were kind of discouraged by citadels, right? Or you had some concerns?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote that big blog post that you're probably referring to, the kind of open letter thing. There was, I think, the 3 main points in that, if I remember, I made in that was about structures in general, about moon mining, and about jump mechanics. I mean, you can go through them. It's been alleviated. Some of the points that I made in that, at least the big points, have been alleviated. The structures thing hasn't turned out to be as bad as I thought it would. It has problems, but it's not turned out as bad as I thought. For example, my initial idea was Fortizars are really strong, so you'll never be able to use caps on grid with them. That was like an assumption I had from testing them to death on Sissy. And what happens is in practice, yeah, if you drop 3 or 4 caps, that's true. The fort kills them. But if you just drop 40 caps, it doesn't matter because the other stuff is killing them quicker than a Fortizar is. It's not having a Fortizar, dropping a Fortizar, dropping like 30 caps on a group with a Fortizar. The Fortizar is just like 3 dreads. You're not going to care about like 3 dreads in your 40-man cap fleet. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I have no doubt. I'm going to interrupt that because no doubt you know your stuff because you're someone that goes onto the test server and tests things out, right? So you're kind of a theory crafter. You get ahead of the curve. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say like I theory craft for practice though because I'm still essentially an FC. I mean, that's kind of what I've always been since then. I mean, in BL, Elo would be the guy who FC'd, right? But like, I'd always be the background checking assumptions, like if they died, like I'd be the guy that takes over that kind of thing. It's always with the view of like, I'm going to test this thing so that when it comes up in the game next week in practice, I know how to react to it, you know?
Right. So it was self-preservation.
Basically, yeah.
But you have written, I mean, your stuff gets cited when you wrote the stuff about the jump changes. A lot of people were saying like that was a pretty thorough thing, and I guess I didn't realize you had the background in setting down sinos, so you were very familiar with the choke points and the pipes and that sort of stuff. All the places that these super ships, these big ships would travel, you would know where they would get stuck or most likely to be hunted, that sort of thing. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's my old corp that I'm not longer in, the Suicide Kings. The one that I left when I joined Hard Knocks. Myself and a friend between us had I think 40 odd sino alts. So yeah,
40,
I mean, we
40
just
Sino-alts, wow.
knew what 40 Sino-alts between the two of us, and we had an alt corp. So yeah, I mean, we'd done all this to death. Him more so than he'd done a lot of the mapping and like working out, and I took the benefit of that in a lot of ways. But yeah, I mean, it's something I'm absolutely done. Yeah.
Wow. And I didn't realize you were such a friendly guy because you're in Tissue. So Tissue has a reputation for being a bunch of people with a huge arsenal of ships, but also they really destroy forums. They were in NC for a while. They got kicked out. They were in Tissue. I guess that dissolved. They ended up hanging around with PL, waiting to get in, and I guess they finally got in after they either kicked some people or made some adjustments because they had a pretty shitty reputation for being caustic or toxic, that sort of thing, right? So how did you fit into that?
I mean, I would say that the degree to which the reputation follows them does not match the reality. What was the word? It's not as bad. It's not nearly as bad as people make out to be. I'll say in regards to Tissue, because I've said this publicly and to people in university, and I stand by it, is Tissue fell apart because of the way adversity people were, towards other corps in the alliance. They didn't want to. It created a kind of unfun environment to play in, and I think that, and I would imagine most other people in university would agree with, it created just a very toxic environment. That's just the way those people are. They're very, critical of other people in a way that's very often not constructive. So I don't deny that. In terms of like the whole thing, which, if you want to just be honest about it, is that the accusations of racism and whatnot is just, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's not. We were having a debate on.
It was more anti-Semitic, right? Because they put tanks of gas in there. There was an issue where they put tanks of gas in their ships for the Alliance tournament. So in front of all these people, 10,000 people watching, when their ships blew up, inside their wrecked ships were a coded message that was about kind of a neo-Nazi message about gassing Jews.
Yeah, the 488 like reactive gas thing. Yeah, that was kind of stupid. I mean, I don't know. Like, here's the thing. Like, I'll tell you right now. Like, there's 3 or 4 people in adversity who are actually Jews. Like, there's no actual anti-Semitism in it whatsoever. It's kind of even almost silly to imply that there's an actual belief of that.
The issue isn't that you're offending some people, because they probably aren't anti-Semitic, but they may have people may have deep feelings about certain things that they don't really own. You know, they kind of play with it, because humor is a way you play with an idea without committing to it. But what that shows is the wanting to shock everybody else and to offend them. It's a big middle finger, really.
I see where we're coming from. I think that's kind of a personal way of looking at it. So my view of comedy is that it's the opposite. It's that comedy is a way of ridiculing something, right? So like for example, I'll give you a joke. I won't name the person, right, in adversity, but there's a couple in adversity who are like, they're very right wing, and then there's me, and I'll tell you in real life I'm like a crazy like lefty type person.
Me
right?
too.
But like, yeah, anyway, there's a couple of people in university who are very right wing, and we get into very regular like politics debates and whatever on comms. I mean, there was someone in PL who came into our channel and was like, "Oh, I hope you guys like don't let people take you down when you get this series." And I mean, we have this joke where it's like anytime they start speaking, I'll be like, "Hey guys, did you hear the stupid thing my Lovecock guy at work said?" And I'm just like, just like you take the mick out of them, and everyone knows it's funny because you're just taking the mick out of him saying that because it's ridiculous. I mean, that's kind of my way of playing it. Is I feel like it's almost like a sketch comedy, right? It's like you portray it in a way that's like exaggerated, thus revealing the ridiculousness of it.
Well, I think that's interesting. You meet with them on a higher level than the humor insults, basically. So the bridge is still there. Like, you're not offended out of the place, or you have a really thick skin and you can just kind of, you're from where, by the way?
I'm sorry?
Where are you from?
I'm from Scotland.
Sorry?
I live in Scotland. I'm from Scotland.
Scotland. Oh, okay. All right. Well, cultures are all different on their sense of humor. Apparently, Australians really go after each other, and it just depends on where.
Yeah, the Scottish tone of humor is very similar to the Australian one, actually.
Oh, so there's a lot of give and take.
In terms of give and take, self-deprecation, it's very similar to the Australian kind of.
Yeah. But that's good. I think it speaks volumes that, you can be in that situation and not get offended and stuff. Like, I am too weak. I probably couldn't survive very long. But you seem to be somebody who's adaptable. And mostly what I did with this interview, and it's almost over now, but was to try to figure out who you were as a person, to see, like, because there's no doubt you have a lot of calculating skills, and, people know your name from very earned, things that you did in the game, FCing and helping people out with putting down, roads and stuff like that. But it's also like, what motivates you to join the CSM, and what kind of character are you, and can you be effective, and I just want to know, like, why do you want to run for CSM? Because you seem like somebody that CCP would say, we're going to talk to Capri about this because he knows about this certain thing.
Because exactly that. I mean, I'd say there's probably a couple hundred people in the game who, in certain given areas with different bits, really know what they're talking about, and at least in some useful subset, I would nominate myself as someone who does know about that. Mm-hmm. And it's basically like, there's areas of the game that I know about, and it hurts me and my friends when they're not treated properly. Do you know what I mean? When CCP doesn't deal with them in the right way. And that's when I want to come through. I want to make my game and my game for my friends more fun, basically. Right. And so is that a limited amount of friends that you have, or who are you talking about specifically? Your, Hard Knocks, PL, and those guys? Or? I mean, like I say, that's kind of what I was saying earlier. I'm kind of just with anyone who... So my ideal fun thing in EVE is like fights that are between 50 to 200 on each side, and with some room for capital escalation. That's like my
Yeah.
you know,
That's a sweet
ideal.
spot.
Yeah, that's what I feel is the sweet spot of content for Eve. So I would say like my friends is I mean, adversity, just PL, hard knocks, whatever. Just TSK people in test that I've flown with. Because I mean, I spent a lot of like this war that just happened with test and PL. I mean, I'm in PL now, but I spent the entire war FCing for test. Like I FC'd most of the test fleets that war.
So,
I mean, even people like that. I mean, just anyone who feels that way.
So people that you would want to appeal to are people who can relate to that, right? That sweet spot of PvP activity, which I actually think is you're right on the money on that.
Basically, large fleet fights that are just below the mark where tie-dye comes into play. But that are just shy of tie-dye. That's what I'd say.
Right. That's cool, man. Is there something else that, there's definitely, like, I could talk to you for about 2 or 3 hours. We'll have to have you on the full show at some point. But is there anything that you want to, like, get out about your candidacy?
I'd say the big thing I would want to say, and this is actually in the negative, is despite me being Hard Knocks, and I'm guessing you'll probably mention it, is that, I mean, I wouldn't angle myself as someone who's, like, the wormhole guy. I don't want to give people that impression. If you want the wormhole guy, vote for Noobman. But I mean, I've been in various nullsec groups for PvP. I have experience with it. I know what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm in PL now, but 3 weeks ago I wasn't in PL. I was in a nullsec arc that did its own thing with 20-man fleets. I mean, I've been around. That's what I'd say. I know people say like I'm I'm a candidate that doesn't like that I'm independent, right? But really what they mean is I'm never been attached with anything and I'm involved with it. I'm saying I'm also an independent candidate, but not because I've never done anything. It's because I've been in all of them at one point or another. I've got the wider perspective of it.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
So you have what it takes to belong, but you still remain independent.
Yeah, personally. I mean, I have massive disagreements with a lot of people in PL. I mean, I've even like Killer B. I don't know if you've killed him yet. I've had huge disagreements with him about various things in the game.
He's also running for CSM.
Yeah, he is. So, yeah.
I guess if you both make it, we'll sit you next to each other.
Yeah, you'll need to find the points of disagreement on that.
The finer points. Well, that's cool. But I get what you're saying. You don't want to be considered a second Hard Knocks person or a second Wormhole person because that doesn't describe you fully.
No, I mean I've been playing Wormholes for like 6 months, and there's so much to it. I mean it's like if I'd been coming in as a null, if I'd stand as a CSM candidate when I'd spend them at the same time in nullsec, I'd be rolling my eyes at someone who's running that. I don't want to be that guy for Wormholes. If you're looking for Wormholes, vote for Noobman. But if you're in nullsec and you're like flight PvP that isn't tie-dye, I'm your guy.
Yeah, that's great, man. Okay, so in just kind of encapsulating that, you sound like somebody that started video games young in a very competitive way, and you're focused on learning the game and optimizing and getting like to that point. You have enough experience, and I'm saying it as a witness, to know what the sweet spots are in EVE, and it looks like you've been a part of some of the funner campaigns in the last few years. That's great. So, gosh, at this point, it's a real pleasure to talk to you. This is the first time we've ever talked. You're such a friendly guy. We'll have to have you on at some point.
You've messaged me a bit. Yeah, I mean, I know I come across that way. Like because a lot of the posting that I do comes across as very angry, but it's kind of like if you've heard of it, like the dialectic. I believe that there's an objective truth, and the best way to get there is by arguing about it. And the problem is if you're not of that mindset, it can come across as like very angry and negative. But it's more like I like talking about things. It just argumentatively. So if you're only reading it, it does comes across it's a bit more hostile than it actually is.
Yeah, my idea of you now is a little more rounded, although you were very polite before and you were very good with information. I almost wrote an article about the demise of tissue, but I decided not to write it. You gave me some information on that, which was helpful. But you just, to me, seem like somebody who likes tearing into things.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. It's great. Okay, man. Thanks a lot for showing up, and good luck on your campaign.
Yeah, thanks a lot, dude. Appreciate it. It was a good chat.
Yeah.